welcome to the Flannel podcast, where we take a deep dive into the music that defined a generation. From the fading echoes of glam metal to the rise of raw and gritty grunge.
Whether you rocked out in high school back then, or you're just curious about this legendary era, join us as we explore the music that made us, and maybe still does. Hello, tribe! Welcome to episode 4, called Here We Are Now, Entertain Us. Here we are, now entertain us, depending on where you put the comma. What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. We're your hosts, Thom and Jay. Jay and Thom. I'm Jay. He's Thom.
He assists me.
How's everyone doing? And I can't really hear, so don't bother answering. Here we are now, entertain us. We're going to be covering the fall of glam and hair metal, or the hair bands, whatever terminology you like, and the rise of grunge.
An alternative.
As seen through our eyes, who were in high school at the time. So maybe you were in high school, maybe you were working, or maybe you weren't even born, as in the case of our kids. We happen to have been in high school, and it was a cultural phenomenon, supposedly. It was. It impacted each of us differently, and I think that's what's going to make this interesting.
Yeah, for sure. I don't even, and it's such an easy one to begin with, but I don't even know where the hell to begin.
Well, first you would talk about glam. Now the glam rock, the glam metal came out of the Sunset Strip, starting, in the 80s. I guess it grew from the glam of the 70s, like the Dolls and shit like that, into the 80s. Now we're not on the West Coast. I've never been to the Sunset Strip, so I don't really have any sort of recollection. And I came into that towards the tail end, around 87. So my recollection is it was just a way of life. It was there. You didn't meet someone who didn't listen to music in one form or another. Everyone listened to music. So, and most people, at least in our circle, listened to rock or metal, or, it wasn't called hair metal.
No, not at all. It was just rock.
It was rock, hard rock. Or you say heavy. If you were going to talk about Metallica,
heavy metal,
heavy metal.
Was heavy metal, and that's it. There was simple genres, simple classifications. That was that. And I remember actually there was something that Ozzy Osbourne had said at one time. Every day there's a new metal genre, and then he said something about like, "Oh, it's going to be a washing machine metal." He said, "It was like what?"
Did he actually say that?
Yeah, it was. Oh my God, it was so long ago. But yeah, it's like the classifications of these different genres have just gotten really stupid. Just like grunge. Grunge wasn't even it. And the more that we do this podcast, I can't fucking stand grunge. I can't stand that label. Hair bands, that's definitely a second. That's between grunge and hair bands using that label.
Yeah, some of the terminology is really stupid, but everybody always has to put shit into categories and classifications. It can't just be rock and roll, hard rock, heavy metal. It's got to have all sorts of different categories it fits into.
Right.
Which is stupid. Sort of reminds me of Brian Setzer wrote a song called Really Rockabilly, and it's about all the stupid rockabilly subgenres that exist. And that's true with every genre of music. They have their own subgenres that are just ridiculous.
There's just too many. Washing machine metal. Yeah, there's too fucking many.
Well, if he said that, that's a new thing that I think I'm going to get into.
Yeah. Plug in the guitar, open up the machine, throw it in there, and keep it plugged into the amp and just fill it up.
It's
Deep
fucking
tub fill, let it go.
It's Maytag metal. That's awesome.
See? Washing machine metal.
So what's the glam? What's the hard rock you were listening to at the time. I guess we'll go late 80s. So if we were going to go over to Tom's house and we're going to see what he's got in his boombox,
Well,
what are we going to hear?
Obviously some of the first stuff was definitely the Poison, the Guns N' Roses, the Bon Jovi, the Motley Crue, and the Cinderella. Probably New Jersey. You were definitely going to listen to that a bit. And,
Not me.
at my house, you're going to have no choice.
Shit.
And then with Cinderella, Long Cold Winter, maybe, but I'm going to probably take that tape out and put Night Songs back in.
Yeah.
Motley Crue, well, you're probably going to be sitting there listening to Dr. Feelgood, but then we're going to be fast forwarding tracks here and there.
Dr. Feelgood.
Yeah,
No.
we're going to listen to 3 songs on that album, and that's it.
What?
And this is where hair metal falls and fails.
No. Not even close.
No.
That album was, I don't even know offhand if we're going to talk about that record, but I'm sure it's 5 times platinum, at least. Every song's a fucking hit. It's a great record.
Well, all their singles were hits.
Yeah.
Come on. She goes down. She goes down, 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 down.
That's a great, see? That's fucking poetry. That's what I'm talking about.
She goes down.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that the one where it goes zzz? And then it starts?
Yes.
Yep. She goes down. Fucking hate that song.
No, you don't.
I don't like that song. Another slice of your pie. I don't even know how the fucking melody goes to that one. Slice of your pie. I'm like,
are you shitting me? All right. So the lyrics are corny.
Yes.
But that riff is fucking good.
She's my cherry pie. Oh my
no,
God.
that's not even.
All we're doing is having dessert. This is where the 80s start failing.
Well, it's funny you say that because that. I mean, that was the beginning of the end.
Mm.
There was a formula that they all followed. It went from being like, if you went from the early 80s and you saw like, I don't know, even Dokken. You ever notice that a lot of the videos from the early 80s look like post-apocalyptic? Like Dokken's got some. There's a couple of Crew videos that look post-apocalyptic. A couple of Kiss videos that look post-apocalyptic. Did you ever notice that?
Well, of course, that was the very beginning of video and no direction, and maybe it was because somebody did the video first and was like, well, let's follow suit, because those early videos had no content, no storyline. There was just,
no, it was like
brutal.
it was like they had to make a video, but most of the time the image didn't match the story of the song.
Right.
So it was just a video. So it's just a way to visually represent the band. But a lot of it is sort of darker and, on that sort of like seedy side of the town or whatever until 85 when Crew put out Home Sweet Home. Then I think shit changed big time. Because if you noticed, Crew went from now the look of Shout at the Devil, which was sort of dark, and then, it's Shout at the Devil, to Theater of Pain. They went from, like, dark to glammy. And I think everyone followed that suit, seeing how successful Home Sweet Home was.
Now, and that was when? 85?
Yeah, when you think of people having 80s parties, what do you think of? The people who were never alive in the 80s, they all go to the parties. They all look the same. They have bright fucking neon. They have a side ponytail. They got the fucking, the Madonna bracelets. We call them Madonna
and that's
bracelets.
the thing. I think that's the big part of it is it's that pop side of it. The pop 80s is what comes out in those 80 parties.
But that bright neon, that fucking day glow, the lace fingerless gloves and shit like that.
That was early.
Well, that was Madonna that did that. She was huge, which I know we weren't into, but you couldn't escape her. I mean,
I listened to Madonna.
you still do.
She was hot every now and then.
Tom's a material girl.
I'm material.
That's beautiful. That's nice. But then Crew comes out with Theater of Pain, and then they went from black and red to like purple and pink. And a lot of the bands did that. And I think everyone was chasing whatever Crew did. This is what we're going to do, because Home Sweet Home, I mean, they came up with the fucking cruel rule on cruel. Cruel? Did I say cruel?
Might have.
I meant Crew.
You might have.
Oh, Jesus.
You might have said that.
The Crew rule on Dial MTV.
And what is the Crew rule? For those that have no idea. For the audience that can't see us, what is the Crew rule?
Because if you could see us, you'd know right away what it was. There's no denying.
No.
Motley Crue's Home Sweet Home was number 1 on Dial MTV for over 90 days in a row. That's 3 months of Motley Crue being number 1. And I guess they made up, well, not I guess, they did. They made up a rule called the Crew Rule that they would sort of retire the video from the top spot so that way other things can have a chance. So Home Sweet Home was the reason that they devised that rule.
Right.
So as a result of that, it would be less predictable or whatever. I don't know. Wasn't actually watching at that time.
No, not really. But I think what was going on with that music at that time, I think that was the thing. You had to be bigger than you were. You had to be bigger than the place you were playing. So if you're in the club, you have to play like you're an arena act, because ultimately that's what a lot of these bands wanted to achieve.
That's what it's about.
Right.
I mean, why who wouldn't want? It's about being a rock star.
Right. And they were doing everything big from the beginning, and I think that's where it goes into, obviously the videos. The videos are giving you the image of the band, so they're doing, like we said before, the big stages, and it just like 90 miles of stage, and the jumping, and the drum risers way up, the big huge wall of amps. Everything was enormous, everything was excessive, but that is also the 80s in general. Everything was excessive.
Well, they call it the decade of excess, the bigger is better decade.
Right.
And you either latch onto that, or you're one of those people that is like, I'm not materialistic, so I'm too good for that.
Right. I'm material.
I think that's what made it exciting. You got these bands and they're fucking rock stars. Like, this is great. Like, I want to do that shit. I want to be on that stage. I want to jump around. I want the fucking pyrotechnics going up when I hit my, the chord on my guitar. It was just really fucking cool. All the lights, the fire, the smoke, the girls. It was badass.
Yes, definitely.
But as with anything, too much of a good thing is you're just going to end up killing it.
And obviously that is what happened.
That look, that shit, that's designed to grab attention in a big way. And it resonated with a lot of people who wanted that, who wanted a little bit of escapism, a little bit of rebellion, excess. People with big piles of fucking...
excess is the biggest word for that period. And it just kept getting bigger and bigger.
Nothing exceeds like excess.
Yeah. Excessiveness. And there's a point where you just can't get bigger.
Yeah, you can only take it so far to where it's like, all right, once you climb that mountain, you climb the next one. And then the next one, there's only so far you can go before it's like,
where
do we go?
Yeah, dead horse. Just like... And I think that might have been the joke with Cheap Trick's guitarist there, Rick Nielsen. He has the guitar that has like 30 necks on it. Well, that's one of their videos. It,
The
it
fuck.
is. It's that period of
Goddamn dog.
Leave it. It's the period of ridiculousness.
damn it.
You know.
It is, and then that's the problem. It hit that point of ridiculous, and they started to pick up on it slowly here and there.
Well, here's the thing. The fucking the rawness and the dangerosity, whatever the word is, of the bands in the early '80s gave way to the, let's be pretty, let's be fucking whatever else. It was dangerous early on, and then it became fluff. With the guys make pouty lips in the fucking cameras or whatever, and they getting the girls that way, and that it became sort of
Posery.
yeah. Now when we joined on, it was very formulaic. It was very you noticed, I'm sure you did. Every band they put out their record. That record would have 3 singles on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Almost every time, unless it's something huge like Hysteria or Dr. Feelgood.
Right.
There would be a rock sort of song, a ballad.
And that was most of the time the 9th track on the album was the ballad.
Is that right?
A lot of albums around the 9th track, it was a ballad or it was like a really great song. I don't know why. I just always found that on albums. I've never looked it up, but
yeah, I'll have to notice.
Yeah, pull up random albums, and of course I can't do it with the Alice in Chains one because that whole side sucks. Oh man,
I don't. Well, yeah, but they don't.
I think Every Rose was the ballad. I think that might have been the 9th track.
Every Rose Has a Thorn is the 9th song off Open Up and Say. How stupid was that? The censorship of that album cover.
Still don't understand it.
It was because the girl, the model on the front, she's like painted up like a demon, and the big long tongue is supposed to be really suggestive. And I think it was the record company that said that.
It makes no sense.
We're not going to do that.
Hey, don't get us going on the Flesh and Blood album cover. Oh my God, the tattoo is dripping blood. We have to have an edited version. Are we kidding?
That tattoo.
What the fuck is wrong with Columbia?
Wait, did that really happen?
Yeah.
That's
it's so subtle, the difference. It's so stupid.
Oh, fucking dumb.
That's what killed glam.
No, there's a lot. So it became very formulaic. The ballad would usually fare pretty well on the charts because the girls would buy the single, and they would normally not buy the rock songs.
That's when the mixtape had to get put together for the girl, and all the ballads are on there because there was no buying CDs, really yet.
They would buy the cassette single for Heaven, but they wouldn't buy the one for Down Boys.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
Right. It's where did Down Boys go?
Go. And it became very predictable. Like that was going to happen. And then it just started getting almost like manufactured. Even though there's some of these bands were fantastic bands, but the timing of them was just bad because it was just like one after another after another. You had the 2 dudes from Nelson who were like Ricky Nelson's sons. Mm. They had the fucking really long blonde hair.
God, that was horrible. Something about the rain. What is that?
After the Rain.
After the Rain.
Yeah.
And whatever their first line of the song is in that video, and they look around like, oh my God, where did that all come from?
Do they do that?
Yeah. Oh my God.
That must have
What is it? What's the first line of that song? Oh man, I can't think of it. But it's just like they both sing it in harmony, and it was like,
well, they do.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden they look around like, oh my God, our voices sound nice in this room. And then that's it. Now they're cool, and they do the rest of their shitty-ass song. That's the fall of glam metal.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. It went from Wasp, like Fuck Like a Beast, to I Can't Live Without Your Love and Affection.
Yep.
And it was just like, come on, man. This ain't about rebellion anymore. This is not about angst. It's not about...
Well, I think that's also where the record labels were starting to just throwing money at, all right, well, Bon Jovi's big and Crew's big and GNR's big, and these other record labels around are just throwing money at these other bands. Like, maybe this will be the next one.
Yeah, but what's
And
selling? What's selling is the ballad. So the
and
girls
boy,
are.
every band's got a ballad. Even the ones like I have so many cassette tapes of the bands during that 88, 89, 90, 91, 92 that are just, they all have a ballad. There's like 3 ballads on the album. I think they were that desperate. Christ, I think the band is Tough, the very, very
Oh,
Poison ripoff lookalike. Like, I think,
TUFF tough.
yeah, and
Yeah.
they had like 3 ballads on their album, and I think the first one comes in at track 2, and it's like, whoa, they were really desperate to hurry up and push those. But I think that's part on the record label, because it's like, okay, some of these smaller divisions and smaller labels are looking
Well,
to, get there.
I think they were signing these bands, and it was probably pressure from the labels. Like, you got to give us a hit, or this is it for you, one record.
Mm.
Because, keep them coming, keep them coming. So this way we can, if you don't make it, goodbye, you're done. Let's try this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Tough doesn't make it, let's sign Firehouse. Firehouse was a decent band. Good band. I mean, great songs. The production on their debut record is fucking fantastic.
The girl on the cover is hot.
I can't think of the cover offhand.
Like
But
the house is burning in the background, and she's standing there with a match.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just really bad timing. It just became part of a formula that they just tried to, what's making money? The ballad. All right, push it out, push them out, get them out. Let's see. We're going to get a hit. We're going to get a hit. We're going to make the money. That's what it's about.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's the music business. You don't, and this is how I feel about this, and some people, they don't agree with me. If you want to be an artist, you don't sign on the dotted line. As soon as you sign on the dotted line, you're an employee now of such and such record company.
You filled out an application.
You worked for them. Like everybody who creates a band, myself included, the goal was to get signed. We didn't get signed. But once you get signed, we're fucking rock stars now. But no, now you're an employee, and you can put your heart into a record and submit it. They could be like, this sucks. We're not going to release this. And so you'd have to redo it in a certain amount of time period.
Only like select few were able to know this is going to be it. And I not long ago saw something that was about Nirvana's In Utero and the way it was recorded and stuff. And Geffen Records is kind of like, there's nothing here, to put out. And they wanted it all changed and everything. But I think it was something with the producer, Steve Albini, saying, I don't know if he pushed it or something, but it was like, it kind of just stayed. But Nirvana at that time is who they are. And should you fuck with them? Maybe not, because, you just had this awesome cash cow. But not a lot of those bands were able to do that. And it's like, yeah, you have to go and change it up because they want what they want. And that's what killed glam rock.
Yeah, I mean, there's always the argument, what put an end to it, what killed it. And everyone says Nirvana's Nevermind. Nirvana's Nevermind. And you know what? I don't think so. I don't think it did.
And
it killed itself. We couldn't discover things on YouTube. It didn't exist. We could only go to the store and look at rock magazines. We can only see what MTV was playing, and the radio. The radio is only going to play, obviously, radio songs.
Right.
You can have a band that has a catalog of 10 albums, and they only play 3 songs from the whole band. So we had to be fans of what was fed to us, and we were too young at the time to go to clubs or bars and look at local bands and things like that. So whatever.
Yeah, there was other scenes that were around, and there, unless you knew somebody that was involved,
yeah,
you weren't.
Right.
So that was it. And it's like,
we're basically being force fed this I can't live without your love and affection, you know, and the firehouses and the dangers and shit like that was coming out towards the end, and
Oh yeah.
Warrant. What else was there? Oh, Trickster.
Mm-hmm.
They were another one.
Yeah.
I remember when that shit was coming out, and even then I was just like, you know,
It's like, and
it's not that it was bad, and in retrospect, when I listen to it now, it's actually very good. But
yeah,
at the time, I'm like,
it's like, how many times are we gonna do this?
right. It's just and you can tell they're just putting shit out to try to get a hit.
Right.
Well, little did we know, 3,000 miles away, that there's another scene brewing of people who were obviously either sick of that or just trying to get away from that. I don't know if they were trying to make it more accessible to the everyman, because for us, when we sit there, we watch MTV, we see the big stars in the fucking Lamborghinis or the stretch limos with the pools in it, like Vince
I was
Neil
just
was in.
thinking that, just thinking the pool in the back.
As cool as it is to see, that's out of reach for a lot of people, you know.
Right. And it was all about being the star. And it's like,
It was one of those
unobtainable.
it's unobtainable, but for some it's escapism. I like to see that. I want to see, the mansion. I want to see the Lamborghinis. I want to see the pretty girls and shit like that. But at the same time, it's like watching Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, on TV. It's like,
And that's where
that's nice and all, but
yeah. And that's kind of where, I always had that dream of being, in a band on tour and stuff, but I never really envisioned more. I never envisioned huge house, living in, Hollywood, and who was everywhere, and all these cars. I never saw that.
Did you
like
say
that,
who was?
Who was?
A bunch of who's.
Yeah. So I never even went that far. For me, it was just being on a stage in front of people, playing my stuff, and to see somebody singing my stuff back. I think like that's my goal.
That's got to be the ultimate compliment to a person who writes songs.
Sure.
Even if it's good or bad, doesn't matter. If the audience is singing your song as loud as you are performing it, that's got to be badass.
Right. But I never had that, that big, huge thing. And I think that's where I started to really embrace the grunge scene coming in, because it wasn't rock star. It wasn't, hey, limos and this and that. This is what I do. If you fucking like it, whatever, you like it. It's our little tribe. It's our little group. And that's that.
Right.
So, entertain us. Here
Right.
we are now.
It just became really oversaturated. I noticed it too. I noticed it at that time. So what was the thing? What do you think was the first thing? The first thing you see when you're like, all right, things are starting to change.
That hair metal, the glam bands, they started changing though. They were stripping down. Everybody started to throw out the Aquanet, put on cowboy hats. They started getting their acoustics. All of a sudden, we're blues, and it was like,
well, I think you're thinking about Cinderella specifically, and I think they were always a blues band.
Well, yeah, they were.
That sort of did that.
But
night
then
songs.
You have Native Tongue. Native Tongue's 93 from
Native
Poison.
Tongue, Native Tongue is a Richie Kotzen record. Kotzen.
Yeah.
I think that was glam already. I mean, grunge already in full swing, and that was Poison's attempt to stay relevant.
Right. So then you have those bands, but I mean, well, even Bon Jovi.
A lot of bands, most bands, I think, had that record. That the bands from the '80s and maybe even before, Did you notice they all had that record? That was them trying to play the new style,
Well, yes. And
which I think can be an episode all on its own because there's so many bands that did it, Kiss included. Uh, wasn't Doggy Dog was a decent record by Warrant, but just the timing of it was terrible. But wasn't that sort of
actually, well, they had there was the one before that. Oh no, Doggy Dog was 92. Um, but they weren't going grunge or alternative. I think for them they were trying to get heavier. And I have that album, and it was almost like kind of taking maybe a little bit of, like, say, Slave to the Grind, and then taking a little bit of the songs, like November Rain and Estranged from Guns N' Roses, because they have it's just there's something with the Doggy Dog album. And again, there's like something about My Machine Gun or something like that, and I think that's the opening track on Doggy Dog from Warrant, and it's cool, but that's where it fails in the lyric category for me. The best song on that album, I think, is Bitter Pill. It's ballady, but the vocals that Janie does, one's got an effect, one doesn't, left and right panned. Then it goes into this like heavier part, and he sings in German, and it just, I think that song is really cool. I feel it was an attempt to go towards like the epic song of Strange November Rain type thing. Skid Row.
I think Janie Lane had a lot more to say. He's known as Cherry Pie, but that was written because of the record company pushing them to write a fucking single.
Mm.
I think
that was like the last one written for that album.
Yeah, I think he had a lot more to say. He had a lot more Uncle Tom Cabin in him than he had Cherry Pie.
Mm.
Unfortunately, he's dead.
He's died.
He died. How about fucking Motley Crue's record with John Corabi singing?
Well, even if you look at the cover of that, and that was...
First of all...
But that was 94.
That's right in the fucking myths.
Right.
Myths
so,
of it.
They had... If you look at that cover, and you look at the Motley Crue logo, it's got a grunge style to it.
Yes, you can tell.
It has that look, you know?
So many bands did this shit.
Right. Because it's like, oh no. Like, because they got to try to stay relevant.
Look, they have
contracts
managers
to fulfill.
Yeah, they have managers. They have AR people or whatever that are saying, look, if you want to stay relevant, they had to ditch Vince Neil. They got John Corabi, he's a little dirtier looking. That guy can sing. He's an amazing singer. I don't want to take anything away from him, but
I have an actual cassette single. Actually, what the heck was it? It was a one of those free cassette tapes, a sampler, and he was in the band Primal Scream. I think that's where he was from, and that was another one of those bands that was it just wrong time. I don't even know if they were good, but then I remember seeing it and I go, oh my God, he's a singer. But yeah, you have that one. You have
there's people that say, and I don't know if they're just trying to be edgy or whatever it is, but you'll always find people that say, that's Motley Crue's best record, man. That's the best shit that they ever put out. I personally, that record sucks, okay? Listening to that record is a chore. I'm sorry. I think it's terrible. I think it sucks. And there's a reason why they went.
It sucks.
There's a reason why they went from playing, packed arenas to fucking bars with 4 people in there.
I never listened to it.
I listened to it recently. This is how I know. And I listened to it for the first time only maybe 10 years ago. And every time I listen to it, it's tough to make it through to the end. For me, it is.
I'm sure. And especially since
what the fuck
not even
Vince.
It's a fucking cover band.
It's like, what are we trying to do here? What are you trying to prove? You know what I mean? All they were trying to do was stay relevant.
Mm-hmm.
Motley Crue's the kings of the 80s, but at this point, then you got Metallica. Take a look at them. Now, every record I think they put out sells millions and millions of copies.
Right. And I
But they,
have fucking no idea why in the last later half of their career.
because they're Metallica. But Load sold a ton. But when they first put out Until It Sleeps was the first single in 96, and I remember when that came out, I was like, are you fucking kidding me with this? Here's Lars, eyeliner, all have short hair. They
Yeah.
all look fucking pretty. Kirk has the labrae piercing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they have totally just gone against everything they said they've ever stood for. And they
but
don't need to stay
what
relevant.
do you do when it's your job? You know, like if your regular 9-to-5 job,
But
if they're like, hey, in order for us to be good, you have to wear this uniform now.
but
Well,
Metallica was never a pop band. They never sort of followed trends. They never sort of,
and
So
that's why I fucking blame Bob Rock.
Nah,
You
I don't
just
know.
drop your. Well, I really think he did a lot to that Black album, and and my big thing is it's in the year and a half of life of Metallica
Yeah,
where he's like telling James, because I like the whole recording side of it and you like the live side of it.
right.
In the recording side of it, Bob Rock is word for word is telling James, like, you need to sing, start using your voice and this and that. That's what kind of started to knock Metallica down for me, because James isn't being James on Puppets and Lightning and Justice. No, now James is starting to sing, and you have The Unforgiven and Nothing Else Matters. And I think when I first heard Nothing Else Matters, it was just like, huh. And it was like, all right, it's cool, but I recorded the cassette from you. I never even bought it. I recorded it.
You motherfucker.
And then I drew the album cover in the cassette.
It's black.
Yeah. And I drew the Metallica logo in the corner. I never did the snake. I just did the Metallica logo. But that album, again, I probably I don't know half the songs on it, honestly.
No, I think the Black Album is a great record. And the role of Bob Rock, that's why you hire a producer. You basically give them the reins and say, fucking produce the album. So that you would give them final say. There's 4 members in Metallica, and 2 vote one way, 2 vote the other way. Bob's going to call the difference.
Right. That's fine. But
I mean, that's just what a producer's supposed to do.
Yeah.
Or, push them to become better at their craft. So I agree with that. Now, the Black Album, I mean, we can go into 1991 as a year, as a whole other episode.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You can't, how well the Black Album sold. But we're digressing. But it's not so much Metallica. It's like every band that was trying to stay relevant. If they were big in the 80s, chances are you're not going to be big in the 90s. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, yeah, we went off on Metallica about
them
changing their image and changing their sound.
Yeah. I mean, not that I think they kind of drove past the exit for hair bands going downhill and then the on-ramp of alternative music. They kind of just kept driving. They veered a little bit and you shoot out a couple of loads. To go back to what you said before, where it smells like Teen Spirit, reading earlier, all these different people, when they heard that song, it's like, yep, shit's going downhill from here, or my career is over, and this and that. But it's like,
I
want to say,
but that's people on the inside, people who
right,
have careers
those
in
bands,
music.
yeah,
when they saw the popularity of that shit, boom, overnight.
Right. But, so why, when that happens to you, you're in a band, but you're not thinking to evolve, you're going to keep putting out the same stuff
No,
all the time.
You can't keep putting out Cherry Pie and
Yeah.
shit like you can't do it anymore. Even though that was a big hit, it's that's the identity. I think when that album come out, probably 90 or something. But that's still the identity of the 80s. And I think the 90s was going to make its own identity. Which, if you see a picture, you can always say when that picture's from. This is from the 90s. This is from the 80s. This is from the 70s, and so on. You can go all the way back until you get to the 2000s. Like I can't tell the difference between a picture from 2004 and a picture from 2018. You know what I mean? But there's a definite difference between pictures from the 90s, the 80s, the 70s. You know what I mean? And so I think if you were a band that was popular in the 80s, the chances of you surviving the 90s, unless you were some sort of legacy act, was probably slim to none.
Mm-hmm.
Metallica was able to pull it off. And there's some heavier bands that didn't change, Slayer and things like that sort of stayed. There was Pantera was sort of keeping the metal thing alive during that time.
Oh, there was something. Remember talking? I wasn't talking to him. Shit, I ain't at that status yet. Ricky Rocket said something about.
Let's get him on.
I'll get tomorrow. So he was.
What's his number?
4.
Ricky Rocket, if you're listening, please call us at 5.
Or 1 less than you.
And then, 3. And we can have you on as a guest. I think that would be great.
If you're listening there, Mr. Rocket. No, when the whole grunge thing was going on, he ended up doing something at his house in, I think he was doing lessons and stuff, and then he was making drum kits and all this shit. So
lessons?
Yeah, like he was doing some other stuff because it was like, all right, well, Poison's not going to be relevant now. He started doing, figuring out his future, and he started doing some other job.
This is like overnight, basically, because Poison in '91, they were riding the success of Flesh and Blood, were they not?
Yeah, I think this is going after that before they decided to start coming back and just play the hits. Still, at some point, now they were up there. Your bank account starts to run out, I guess, and then you're not doing anything. You're not putting anything out. I mean, after Native Tongue, nothing happened.
You gotta sort of swallow your pride, I think, and say that
swallow this
live, right?
Right. So so it was like, well, what are you gonna do? And
you're gonna go back. You got to stop playing arenas and start playing clubs again. Start playing bars. I mean, if you like to play music, then that's what you do. Whether you're playing to 50 people or 5,000, I guess doesn't matter.
Right.
I think the listening audience wanted something to be more accessible, more relatable, and their own identity. And I think that's what a big thing of it was. I don't think Smells Like Teen Spirit came in with its 4 chords and said, here's the boot, glam metal, and we're going to now wear sweaters and flannels and do things like that. It wasn't like that. I think they just did their own thing, and whatever happened was a result of that happening.
Right, right, for sure.
That shit killed itself. It just became too much, too stupid, and too forced. We were force-fed this shit. And the whole listening audience, the majority was like, all right, what else? What else you got? You know what I mean?
Right.
That's
Here we are now.
Entertain us. So Nirvana wasn't the first, but they were definitely the biggest. That song had a massive impact. Do you remember when you first heard it?
Yeah, heard it on Headbangers Ball. And I thought Kurt and Chris were fucking stupid. And
that must have been...
had the gold fucking gown, and he said to it had to be Ricky Ratchman, right?
It was Ricky Rockman.
Yeah. And he said, I remember Kurt saying something like, coming to the ball, I figured, I had to wear a ball gown or something. And
Right.
then he said something about Chris being his date. He almost did Wano or some shit. And then they play Teen Spirit. And, I it's not a catchy song or hooky like the 80s rock songs, but it just, I think it just brought that fresher breath air. Wow. The breath of fresh air to music, to, we're not cowboys. We're not fucking, oh, I love you. Let's write letters in the sand. We're not doing any of that shit. Let's change it up because yeah, the same thing. Parties. Sex with the girls. The ballad. Okay, same thing, same thing, same thing.
Right.
So let's get back to the loser kid. Maybe they have a voice. Maybe the ones that are not popular. All that. I think that kind of pulled out all different um,
I
kids. I say out of the woodwork.
I think it just became an identity thing because when we got into our freshman year was 91, 92,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
So that stuff coexisted for quite a while. It was, I mean, the biggest band at that time, Guns N' Roses, Metallica was huge, and there was still successful things happening.
Hmm.
It wasn't until maybe 93, 94 when people realized, like, hey, this is taken over. But there's a shift in the industry.
Hmm.
But there was definitely a sound and image clash, and I think it's because the '90s wanted its own identity, and it's supposed to be us, our age group, were not relating to that sort of thing. I think the purpose of the whole grunge movement or the alternative music movement was the anti-star.
Right, right.
No stars. We're not going to be stars. We're not going to be wearing $1 million outfits and things that you or I couldn't afford.
Hmm.
It's gonna seem like it's just like regular
Grungy.
people. Yeah, grungy. Well, regular people playing the music.
Yeah.
Nothing overly complicated as far as the musicianship goes.
And that's kind of also the other part of it. It's all right. They have these somewhat of a garage band sound, and
Right. Nothing too produced.
yeah, and now it's like, oh my god, wow, I could do this. You didn't feel like that. Maybe that dream was so far away, So it seemed like that level of I could play guitar. I don't have to have long hair and get the girls. I could just do it for me as an artist.
My memory of it is different than yours, even though it was the same song, the same time period. I saw the same fucking Headbangers Ball. I saw them on there. And when after Teen Spirit ended, that must have been the first time I saw it, obviously. I just thought it was just some indie stuff, and I was just like, all right, whatever. And then on to the next. It didn't hit me as like, wow, this is the next thing. So, I was probably 14, I guess. I don't know, right?
Yeah, somewhere right in there.
Yeah. I don't know. I just dismissed it. And then I just started seeing it everywhere, and the rotation of that video kept going and kept going. I do remember I was playing the guitar at the time. I did learn that song. And then the four chords with the little scratching in between.
Hmm.
And I was like, well, it's kind of fun. I didn't like to play the verse. I thought it was just too stupid with the ding ding. It's just like, well, this is fucking lame. Like, there's no riff. There's no fun part of the song for me. So I had a different view. I didn't have the, wow, I could do this. You know what I mean? I had, when I was playing along with Metallica, or I was playing along with Poison, or I was playing along with whoever, Dokken and shit like that. That's when I was saying, I can do this. I could be a star, because I sat in my fucking room and just practice and practice and practice how to play the guitar for hours on end. And then, here comes this guy with his four chords and barely in tune guitar, and he's fucking ruling the world. I just kind of like, what the fuck is this? Like, why is this the norm now. Now I get it, you know.
I kind of feel I kind of feel like he might have had somewhat of a last laugh with that, like you said, the barely tuned guitar and all. You know, it's. I feel that there was a point he proved that you could put out shit and people are going to buy it. And I really feel that, like, not that that was his intention, but I'm sure at some point becoming the rock star that, you know, didn't want to be, you know, one of the song, Milk It or something off of In Utero. And then he has this little teeny guitar solo, and it's like, dude, I think some of it's not even in tune. And it's like, but you know, you could put it out and it doesn't matter. People buy it up just because it's got that brand on it. And
here's the thing. And he is seen as sort of the ringleader of all this shit, but there were better musicians out there. Like Pearl Jam, the band as a whole, is much better musicians than he was. Real quick, can you think of any artist that has rode the success of one album longer than fucking Pearl Jam?
Yeah, no shit.
I know, like, people are going to get bent out of that, but they got 10. What a great record that is.
Right. Well, I mean, Faith No More is fucking. Yeah, I don't know.
No, but they were never like huge. Faith No More.
No.
The only other one I could think of is Alanis Morissette.
Oh,
If she has any other record besides Jagged Little Pill, I have no idea.
Right. And she's got a few. Well, and that is another story. That's also the time with the whole Riot Girl feminist uprising and independent females and stuff. So when
Bikini Kill and
yeah,
L7,
you start getting into you know, that alternative. That's when
what's that other one? The fucking Breeders. Oh God.
Yeah, Veruca Salt. So now you're starting to get into all the girls and, you know, them being in. But also you had in some of these bands like, you know, Smashing Pumpkins, girl bass player. Yeah, that's a weird part of the formula. Girl bass player. Yeah, bands didn't have that. You didn't have that in Bon Jovi or Rad or anything, you know? And in the 90s in these bands, you had some of that stuff to where, I don't know, half the band is this and half the band's that. Like, I don't know, four non-blondes. I think it's two guys, two girls. You know, there was that change.
That band, other than What's Up.
Oh yeah, right.
I don't know.
Huge song.
It was a massive song. It was a great. It was a. I don't know if we. I don't know.
That's three chords. I think the entire song.
What, like live, Lightning Crashes.
Oh, there's another good band. You know, that was good too, but they didn't fit that alternative.
No, but they were one of the ones.
They were definitely big too.
You know,
they were that Pearl Jammy.
Grunge met the same fate that the fucking hair metal did. Mm-hmm. It just met. It was just oversaturation.
Yeah, they had every label was trying to find the new next Nirvana.
Yeah,
every single one of them, and that's when you start getting into the one-hit wonders of the alternative bands, and
they were pushing shit out. I mean, the shit was garbage. I remember some of the songs that were popular amongst our friends in high school that they all loved this shit. And I was like, wow, this really fucking sucks. Like, I really hated a lot of it. I just thought it was complete garbage. And I couldn't understand why it was so popular. It was popular because it wasn't what was popular. Do you know what I mean?
Right. I think that was the other thing that they were looking for, because to go back to Kurt's barely tuned guitar, is some of these bands were just making like legit noise. And
Kurt
it was
and
like
Nirvana, I think it was more along the lines of punk. And it just came in as sort of like just punk. And then it just took off, and it took on a life of its own. There's some great shit, and I
Well,
have some great.
1990. What is that? DVD or VHS I had was 91, the year punk broke. It's got like Sonic Youth and
Nirvana.
Nirvana and all that.
They can thank fucking Kim Gordon really for getting them signed.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's another thing about Kurt Cobain himself. That guy was more business than people think, than people know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's not.
So I'm sure Hole and Courtney Love and
No, everybody's
that.
like, oh, he was so troubled. He's such a troubled artist. He's so deep and brooding. It's like the guy was a businessman.
Right. He was going to start doing work with Michael Stipe from REM. And I'm very curious to hear, and they did some stuff before he fucking died. I would love to hear what that was.
Yeah, I don't know. But he knew exactly what he was doing. He knew the business end of it. He knew that when they were signed with Sub Pop, I guess that they didn't really represent or promote the band the way he would like, he being Kurt Cobain. Mm. And so I thought it was funny because you would see people that wore Sub Pop T-shirts, like saying like, "Oh, you know, I'm part of the underground. I'm in on it." Mm. But Kurt Cobain fucking hated that shit. Like he didn't want to be part of that thing, and he knew that the only way to get out of the contract with Sub Pop was to have a major label buy them out of the contract. Mm. He had a manager. They had a manager. What's the manager's name? Larry Goldberg or something?
I honestly don't even know, believe it or not.
So Nirvana's manager is some guy named, and I can't think of it. It's like, I don't want to generalize the Jewish last name, but it's Goldberg or Goldstein or something along those lines. And, it was business first. Mm. It was business first. Mm-hmm. As it should be. It's the music business. Like somebody from Geffen comes up and says, here's this contract. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to make you a star. Yeah. It's like, sign me up.
Jay just did the hand motion with a pen for the non-visual audience.
For the visually impaired. Yeah. That's right, I did.
Can't see.
The point of the whole fucking grunge thing was to be the anti-star, to be the everyman. But then the anti-stars became the stars.
Well, that's because the tide changes and now everybody shifts over there and they do that. It's going to happen.
It's just the nature of things. So then grunge ended up killing itself out. Mm-hmm. But the point of it was our perspective. So Thom has a different perspective than me. When it was happening, yes, I bought Nevermind. Yes, I bought Incesticide, In Utero, and I actually really love those records. I think they're good.
And, they're always soundtracks to your youth.
Yeah,
more time periods.
More or less. I mean, there's some good stuff. I'll put that stuff on occasionally, and I'll listen to it. Where they're better. I think Pearl Jam is a better band. I think Alice in Chains is a better. Jerry Cantrell is he's amazing.
And if Lane Staley were still with us, I think Alice in Chains would be more prominent because I listened to something with that new guy.
I haven't heard anything.
I actually did the other day, and it really sounds. You have Cantrell's really putting his vocals in there to really give that feeling of the old Alice in Chains.
They always had the dual vocals,
right? And it seemed like it was really, it was a lot. And then the music itself, sounded like they were trying to redo Facelift. So
just redo the first side. Redo the first side. Yeah. Well, they got a right to continue. They got a right.
Exactly.
They want to make music. They make music. Yeah. It's Queen continued on after Freddie Mercury, and people want to hear it. They hear it. Kurt Cobain. Here's the question you need to ask yourself: if he didn't die, whether you think it's one reason, one cause, or another, that's maybe a different episode right there. What do you think the state of him and Nirvana would have been post In Utero? Would there have been another album?
I think there probably would have been another album, maybe two. I think it would have been like, because also what was going on by that point, new metal was starting. So, your Linkin Park and Korn, and that was beginning. So, and well, then you also had Marilyn Manson in there, and all that. So, I
Well,
think,
we're getting out of high school, but
yeah,
I personally credit Manson with bringing the show back to rock show.
oh yeah,
In my opinion, we needed him.
hmm.
At least I did at the time,
Yeah.
because it was just getting really dull for me.
Well,
Anyways,
right.
it's like if Jim Morrison didn't die, would he be the icon he is today?
Well, and I've asked some of my customers this
If Kurt
because
Cobain didn't die,
if if
can you
Jim,
see when was he born? I don't even know. Kurt Cobain. How old would he be right now?
oh my god, I think it was like
Probably like
57.
58.
Yeah, I think it was like 57 or so, somewhere around there. Yeah, but
How can you play that music at almost 60 years old and have it seem legit?
I mean, what's Pearl Jam doing then? I mean, Eddie Vedder's not climbing the rafters,
I don't know,
but
because what do they do? I haven't pulled. I don't.
I've
Again,
watched some stuff, and they're not as active for sure.
what's it like?
Pearl Jam. I mean, they've always done 2.5, 3 hour shows, two
Yeah,
hour
because
shows.
they're like they're like Grateful Dead
Yeah,
status now, or something
but
like that.
they still do it. They actually, this tour, some of the stuff that I caught online, actually they sound pretty good. Definitely sound
Well, I
better
don't know.
than they have over the last handful of years, I think. But I don't like, if you look at Jim Morrison, Jimi Hendrix, and Kurt Cobain, and I've mentioned this to some customers before, if they were still around, I honestly don't think they would be the legends, in quotes, as they are today.
Because, well, I can't
It
speak.
would have got tired of it, worn out. They would have faded into the background,
I
and
haven't seen.
that's it.
We weren't born obviously for Jimi Hendrix and
The one
Jim
person,
Morrison.
the one artist that's put out more albums dead than alive is Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah, well, that's because somebody owns that shit and they're making money. But I
New
can't
Jimi
speak
Hendrix album coming out Friday. I just see
for Beyond the Grave.
from Seattle. So he started the
Right,
Seattle sound.
right.
But yeah, I just don't think them, like even the Doors. It'd be like, oh my god, the fucking Doors, like Rolling Stones. Holy shit, you put out an album? Why? I think it would be that. It's just doesn't resonate anymore with like you and I. Not that you're a Stones fan, but it's like, okay, I went through a period of liking the Stones for sure. Not that I don't like it, but it's just like, okay, you put out a record. How come? I am not listening to anything off it. If I ever see you guys, don't really think I will. Don't think I care.
There's one band that has put them most of the time when a band that has been around for a long time and they release new material and you're like, oh boy, it's going to be lame.
Mm-hmm.
Like just play the shit from back then.
Yeah,
One
exactly.
band has a new record and it fucking rips, and that's Judas Priest. Dude,
I think somebody said something to me about that
their new
the other
album was
day.
fucking amazing.
Yeah.
If you like metal, it's straight up metal. Rob Halford can still sing. It's amazing. It's a great record. I actually
Well,
don't
even
know.
every time Iron Maiden it, and they put out stuff. I don't even know what their status is at the moment,
They're a
but
band. They're a band.
oh, all right. I thought they weren't.
They're still performing.
No, but I'm just like when
They're
the
on tour.
albums come out.
Oh, like how well did they do?
Yeah, no, just like when they come out, they go way past my radar. But Iron Maiden isn't a band that I played heavily at all. Only now in my later years am I starting to appreciate them.
In my wasted years.
Right.
You didn't
So
listen to them.
somewhere in time, these albums are like Aces High,
Oh boy.
you know? So it's like I listen to some and there's killers. There's definitely killers.
Pour a little out for that original singer there, Paul
Paul
Paul Dion
Damiano.
Diano
Yeah.
Diano. Come on. That's way off topic though. Rest in peace, Paul.
Yeah. Paulie. He's just being a power slave.
So would you now? We're gonna have to wrap it up,
Yes.
but I think it's given us. I think it's given us ideas for future episodes.
Yeah, of not doing them.
This is it. Thank you for joining us on the series finale of.
What'll happen next week?
Right. On the very special episode, Thom gets
Heartfelt
diddled.
moment. That's what I think when I hear diddle. Just diddle, diddle, diddle.
Yeah, that's what.
I flicked my fingers around on the screen for the visually impaired audience. Can't say blind people.
Yes, you can.
Dude, what are you, fucking blind?
All right.
And a dog barked.
Let's not take it too far.
Yeah.
You hear a dog. I don't hear a dog.
Yeah. Well, no, because you're only hearing me.
So, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95. That's our high school years. Started September 91. Graduated June 95. It went from tight rolled jeans to sweaters. Like the ugliest fucking ripped,
Earth
nasty
tone.
looking. Yeah, that you could think of. And, flannels tied around the waist. Or just mismatched clothing.
Mm-hmm. Plaid. Fucking flannels.
I like flannels. They're comfortable.
Just tribes of flannel.
What's funny is the trend of the music. The trend of the music is one thing, but the style is another thing that went with it. And if you're in Seattle wearing flannels, fine. If you're where we are in the Northeast, it's fine. It's like right now, it's getting below
Mexico.
50 degrees.
Yeah.
Right. But if you're in Mexico, what do you do if you're a fucking grunge fan and you live in South Florida or you live in like Hawaii or something? I don't know. Like what do they do?
Wear
Like,
ripped
we're just
shorts.
Let's just power through it, man. It's part of the look.
Yeah, long johns.
Yeah.
Like a big sweater over a t-shirt. Like Stewie Griffin. I wear short sleeves, under long sleeves, under short sleeves.
Yeah.
He says it.
That was the thing.
Yeah.
The long sleeve and then you put the t-shirt. You dress like that constantly. Constantly.
Yeah. I was going to try to do that today, but I didn't.
For the episode? For the epi?
Yeah. So basically, we solve the Earth's problems in the music world on this episode.
Well, why did glam end and grunge rise to fame? It wasn't because grunge killed glam. It 100% wasn't. I mean, I take that from a couple of assholes who were there. That's not what happened.
I was there too.
Yes, you're the other asshole. It's really not what happened.
Nope, not at all.
Stop
fucking using it as a scapegoat.
The two coexisted for a while.
Yeah.
There was a lot of fans of both. I was a fan of both. It wasn't grunge came in and it's like, okay, now all of a sudden we have to fucking shit on
our albums. Yeah.
Let's shit on fucking Skid Row. It wasn't like that.
No, just his band's shit on the singer.
I don't know what happened with Skid Row. Hey, listen.
I don't know who had a bowel movement problem.
Who had a bowel movement problem? Not Skid Mark. Skid Row.
Well.
Yep.
So we've come to the conclusion that Smells Like Teen Spirit killed everything. We spent the last 67 minutes trying to defend.
Like it or not, well, no, like it or not, it changed the scope of music for better or worse. Does it equal a fad or a trend? Is grunge the disco of the 90s? You know what I mean? Did it go just it certainly didn't last as long as people had, it's not a lasting thing, just like the glam metal isn't a lasting thing. And then, it's sort of like revived with bands like Steel Panther and shit like that. And there's other bands from overseas that play that style of music that are really solid bands, really good. But they won't see the light of day over here because America's not into that shit.
Right.
And I'm sure there's plenty of underground bands that are still doing the sound,
of both. Really?
Nowadays. Yeah, really, because nowadays you don't really need the record company. The record company was for money and distribution, and you can distribute yourself worldwide.
Yeah.
Right on the computer. It's simple. You don't really need record companies anymore. But people aren't selling, unless you're like Taylor Swift, you're not selling millions and millions of records anymore.
No, not at all.
You don't know how cool it was to go to the record store on a Tuesday when something came out. It was always Tuesday, and then you get the new record and you're like, fuck yeah. But, so, wrap it up.
So, well, we're going to have to talk about in upcoming episodes for sure.
Let's talk what?
I was going to say some of these 90s bands that just bad timing with some good stuff. Then you also have some of those one-hit wonder ones.
Are you talking about early 90s?
Yeah.
Shit like Shotgun Messiah?
Yeah, well, yeah, all right. I would kind of...
LA Guns, they had a...
So I would probably say we'd have to talk about those as in ones that deserve recognition that didn't get them in the glam metal category, probably.
And then as the 90s wore on, we can talk about the shit that they... Look, history repeats itself. They started force-feeding us all that garbage, and then we were stuck with fucking crash test dummies. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. That dude can still sing like that now. I saw something recent.
Why?
I don't know. But then we have to talk about those bands that...
Like, just
some of these bands that's like horrible. And why do you have a song out and it's successful? Maybe we should even talk about that bullshit.
Well, there was a number of them.
Underrated bands and overrated.
Yeah, there's a large number of them.
Led Zeppelin.
Oh, shit. That's not grunge.
What? Smells like it.
That's controversial. That's harsh. That's controversial.
Kiss. What?
Well, that is wrong, but it's not so controversial because there's a number of people that think that. I just say you don't have a 50-year career by being bad, and we'll leave it at that. You know what I mean? So thanks for tuning in. I don't know. Let's wrap. How do you want to wrap it up, Tom? Where can they reach us?
They can reach us.
Hold on, wait. Before you say that, what do you think? Do you remember grunge? Were you there when it happened?
Point at me.
Oh, yeah. Were you there when it happened?
I was.
Well.
Yeah, but everybody else. Were you there? What do you think?
We want the interaction. We want the conversation. We want the feedback. Give us the feedback. Tell us what you think.
Diddle me a little bit with your text messages. I look forward to them.
Tom keeps his phone on vibrate, but he's got a front pocket that right. So you can't get him because he's always calling himself. What's the feedback? Were you there? Did you want to be there? Do you want to know what it was like? It was not as well, for some. Let us know. Comment. Give us a feedback. Reach us. Join the tribe. Where are they going to meet us, Tommy?
My house. Where are they going to meet us? No. All right. We have our website is flanneltribepodcast.com. flanneltribepodcast.com. That's
right.
our website. I said email.
Did you?
What did I say?
If it ends in dot, if it ends in dot com. Again. All right, go ahead.
You can email us at flanneltribe@yahoo.com. You can reach us through our website, flanneltribe.com. Shit, I fucked that up too.
No, you fucked up. Yeah, both of them are Flannel
Damn.
Tribe podcast.
This is how artists have a problem when they do their fucking spots.
Don't the word podcast is in both.
Yeah.
Take 3.
You can reach us at flanneltribepodcast@yahoo.com. That's our emails. You can also reach us at flanneltribepodcast. I fucked that up again, didn't I?
No, you didn't.
I didn't? All right.
Well, you
We'll do
did
the
when you
website
said I
one.
fucked it up.
No, then we'll go to the website one. And you could do flanneltribepodcast.com is our website. My buddy Jay over here has been working on that diligently. And if you look close enough, you'll see a good job. Now, the website's good. It evolves every day.
I never
Newer
designed a
stuff.
website.
Neither have I. But it's updated definitely a few times a week for sure. We got some
Regularly.
photos up there. You can hit us on our socials. You can hit us on our OnlyFans page. Yes, we have one. No, we don't. We don't.
It's
have
just
an
Tom
OnlyFans.
getting diddled.
Yeah. It's just like
People pay for that.
Mhm.
Listen, on a very special episode.
Tom's OnlyFans page crashes. Audience is nervous.
Oh, shit.
I can't see Tom getting diddled.
No
World
one wants
is in
to,
a panic.
no one wants to see that shit. Listen, if you're seeing this, you're already on YouTube, so you know we got a YouTube. Spotify, which seems to be the one that gets the most action.
Spotify, Apple Podcasts, we're
Apple
there.
Podcasts. Apple
Yep. I have a
Podcasts.
beeper. Page me 143.
Yep. Fucking idiot.
Find a payphone.
All right,
Yeah.
I paged him like last year. He still hasn't called me back.
We have an Insta. We have a
We got a
TikTok.
Facebook.
We have a book face.
Yeah,
You know
we
what
have.
we don't have is Chat Snapper. We don't have that.
If you want a Snapchat, you can do one. I don't want
I'm
a Snapchat.
good. I'm all set.
And what's the other one? Threads. Is there any interest in Threads?
I don't know.
I don't have
I'm
a
still
thread.
not doing that. It's
That's like-
probably because I'm an old man now.
I don't know. We got enough. It's enough.
No, it's
If you
good.
can't, it's enough.
Yeah.
How many do we need? I don't know.
Right.
Jesus.
So, next episode, win a date with me or Jay. We'll have the application on our flanneltribepodcast.com website. So go to it, find it, fill it out, and we'll pick the lucky loser.
I'm not sure anybody wants to win that. I don't think my wife even wants to win that.
My wife will be like, "Yep, fuck, I won."
Listen, I want to point out that every time you,
Standing right there.
every time you've mimicked your wife, you've had this type of voice for her.
I always do, even at my 9-to-5 job. I'm
Either
like,
she's 10 feet tall or diddles you against your will.
she does.
You're right. Yeah. Take it, Tom.
That's it. Yeah. Diddle, diddle, diddle. All right.
Anyways, listen, thanks for stopping by. Stay clip.
Stay clit. Stay clitoris.
Right. Shake it easy.
Take it sleazy.
Right. All right. Peace
That's
out.
it. Later.
Motherfucker!